What is up, guys? Cody here, and welcome back to once again another Napoleon Total War battle. So today we are in Arcal, and this is going to be a 4v4. So I'm actually going to be taking part in this replay. I'm going to be in command of the Spanish, and the only reason I brought these guys was because of guerrilla troops. Now, if you guys don't know, guerrilla troops can deploy outside of the ordinary deployment zone and are able to kind of surprise the enemy with sneak attacks. So my main game plan for this battle was, because the map has so many choke points, I'm actually going to be setting up a defensive line on the attacker's side. So this is going to prevent any stalemates, and it's going to allow me to cross the rest of my troops without taking any significant losses. So with that being said, I am actually going to be bringing some interesting units. Instead of bringing any fancy artillery pieces, like the Spanish have any, I'm actually going to be bringing a 6-pound horse artillery. So this is going to allow me to be much more mobile on the battlefield and get my artillery running and into combat much quicker than any other pieces. Now, facing me, I have the French here, and he went with a lot of line infantry, and he's also brought a 6-pound foot artillery. Taking a look at my ally, though, he is very, very far away, but let's hold that thought for just a second. Taking a look at the Prussian artillery. They do not like to cross bridges at all, and the bridge is actually going to kill them. So if you guys are ever playing Napoleon Total War, never cross a bridge with artillery. It's just going to lead you to lose that piece instantly. So Prussian player already down a unit. Back to what I was saying, my ally is over here. He's going to be in command of the British, but taking a look at the map, he's very, very far away from where I am located. So this is going to allow the British and the French to kind of team up and kind of 2v1 me. So I see this, and I'm going to try and respond. Going to get a good volley off with my lights, actually downing 4 light dragoons. It's going to help me out a lot, getting the first bloodshed on the battlefield. Besides that artillery piece that just wanted to die instantly as it crossed the bridge. Over here, though, we have the Portuguese, and they're going to be controlling this town. You guys will see just how important this town is going to be for the enemy players. And then finally, we have the British on the far left flank for them. And he's going to be bringing a lot of elite troops consisting of the Highland Foot, not to mention the 88th, and a lot of foot guards and Coldstream. So very elite troops, and he's going to be faced with the Russians. So the Russians are going to be bringing the classic 20-pound unicorns, and they're going to have a lot of range over the British player, and that is just because the British player did not bring any artillery. So already at a downside for them. But back to where I am at, I am shifting over my troops as quickly as possible, and you can see just like that, my artillery is about to be in position, and what I want to try and do right now is take out that Lancer unit. I know cavalry is very deadly just because they are super mobile and can easily reach my artillery, so if I can take those guys out before they get any significant damage on me, it's going to really, really help me out. So my guys are going to start unlimbering as soon as they possibly can, and also the rest of my army is starting to be shifted over as well. They are very tired from that long run, but they will have time to rest up when they do cross the river. So here goes my artillery unlimbering, and we will check out this first volley with the 6-pounders. Looks like the French are kind of wanting to push in a little bit. You see them marching into position, but I'm going to target these Lancers, and we will see what damage my artillery can cause on them. Excuse me. I have 2 chevrons for my horse artillery, so that means they're going to be a little bit more accurate than usual. And that first volley, oh, devastating. Just dropping 10 guys just like that. So the first volley, very, very nice, but the rest did end up missing. But over here, you can see the British are going to try and take advantage of this 2v1 and are going to be shifting over these rifles. Now, the best thing to do when you are outranged is try and get in range as quickly as possible. So I'm going to be running my lights up. They are going to be taking a lot of fire, but once I do get them in range, they're going to be unleashing a lot of hell on those rifles as well. Here comes the Lancers now, seeing that they're taking shots from my artillery. I'm going to be targeting them not only with my artillery, but also my mounted cavalry. And look at that volley, sending those cavalry flying. Another volley there. And just like that, those Lancers are down to 2 guys. Couldn't do any damage to me. My positioning was very, very well placed. and my artillery did a fantastic job at breaking that unit. So with the Cazadors engaging the rifles, I did see a British light dragoon unit was being pushed in, so going to retreat those guys. I do have my Voluntarios defending my flank, but taking a look on the other side of the battlefield, you see the Russian player is starting to push up his troops, and somewhat of a stalemate right now. No one's really wanting to push over because they know they're going to end up in a very bad position. But I, on the other hand, I'm going to be bringing the battle to the French. So here comes my push. Light infantry did manage to cross the river. They are very tired, but they're going to get some very good shots off on the chasseurs. I also have my mounted cavalry now going to be engaging, and we will see how much damage they can cause. Already getting a very good volley off, bringing them down to 63 men. And here comes the French attack, as well as over here we got some fencibles for the British. So here they come, Old Guard and Fusiliers pushing up on my lines, but my lines are very well defended, and they're just going to be reinforced by more and more troops. So pushing my lights up now, and they're getting some very good volleys on these Fusiliers. These guys are still marching into combat, not good. So what I'm going to try and do here is, I do notice that there are some Old Guard here. And I'm actually going to limber my artillery up here very, very shortly, and actually put them on the front line to use canisters, or canister mode, and this is going to allow me to get a lot of kills. But before that happens, good charge here by the French Lancers, actually charging into my square, barely got that off in time, and they're going to be getting shot at by my reserves. It's always good to have reserves, just in case of cavalry charges like this. You can open up without taking any significant losses. But taking a look, my artillery is now limbered up, and they're going to be pushing into combat, so I'm going to make a little hole here for my artillery to squeeze through, and they're going to be targeting this Old Guard unit. But my Walloon Guard is doing a really good job at holding the flank, and it really doesn't seem necessary, but I do need as much firepower as possible. So once these guys do get limbered up, I'm going to be shifting them over, and we will see just how much devastation it will cause. Taking a look on the opposite side of the battle, we have the Russians now engaging. Looks like the British kind of want to cross here, but the Russians are going to not budge. They're going to hold for as long as they can. We've got some Cossacks now pushing in. And a good cavalry charge into those rifles. Let's try not to miss this artillery. Artillery now going to be unlimbering, and we will see this devastating volley unfold on the Old Guard. So turning their cannons around, and just look at this, guys. This was a glorious moment for me. So Old Guard, 59 men, you know, holding pretty strong right now, keeping the morale up for the French. Just check out this volley. Any second now, this canister is going to be coming in. There it goes, shredding the flank of the Old Guard. And a second one, and that's actually going to finish off the Old Guard. So with that unit gone, it's going to drop the morale of the French very, very much. And it's actually going to force him to retreat. So taking out that Old Guard unit just like that, it's going to save my men a lot of lives. Over here, though, British ally now pushing up, getting into the combat, and it's actually helping my flank out. So it's going to be shifting over more troops now to cross the river with me, because I have created a pretty sizable gap here and fended off a lot of enemy troops. It looks like the 2v1 is still happening on this flank, though. But like I said, I have friendly rifle units actually outflanking these Young Guard, and they're killing a lot of guys. We have some 6-pound horse artillery for the British as well. They're going to be engaging across the river. And it looks like they're shooting the hill here, so that is not good. Taking a look on the far other side of the battlefields, looks like some Russian Cossack cavalry did manage to charge into the Portuguese light infantry, and they are about to break. So isolated light units are never a good thing. And it looks like the same is about to happen for the Prussians. Very isolated right now, has no cavalry support or line support. So we have some light dragoons coming in here, and they're going to try and finish off this Prussian Jaeger unit. Over here, though, looks like the Cossacks got a little too far for their liking, and are actually going to die in or up against some lines that are in square formation. But taking a look back on the other side of the battlefield, Russians doing a really good job at keeping the British back. Even though the British have very elite troops, their positioning is not too great, and it's costing them a lot of lives, but they are also dishing out a lot of devastation as well on these musketeers, and dropping these numbers below half health. Over here though, Portuguese pretty much just chilling in the town, really aren't committing anywhere else, because this is such an important place to defend, so he's going to be safe here. But seeing that things aren't going too well, it looks like the French are going to be retreating to a secondary position, this time a little bit further back, and this is going to allow me to get the attack on. So I'm going to be pushing up my cavalry, going to try and outflank my opponent with some cazadors as well as some lancers, and my main objective here is to try and take out the French artillery. And that's just because I am about to commit my entire army pretty much on this flank with my ally here, and we need a clear path, because right now he's really doing a lot of damage and causing units to break. Over here I have some line and lights engaging this fencible unit, and it looks like the French are not done, so they're going to be committing once again, this time only Fusiliers, and they're going to be attacking my light infantry. I do notice this, so I'm actually going to retreat my lights and reform with my balloon guards in the back, and this is going to really maximize firepower. So once again, the French player wants to commit more troops. He's got some dragoons coming in. It looks like he holds them just short, and here comes the French. So we will see this devastating volley unfold into the ranks here. Just dropping guys like crazy. So seeing that, I'm actually going to be sending my cavalry into the French general. If I can take that guy out, it's going to cause a lot of morale damage to the enemy. So if I can do that, it's going to help me out a lot on this battle. And I'm also going to charge into these dragoons with my cazadors, or at least shoot from horseback. And it seems to be working very, very well for me. Over here, I do manage to charge into the French general, but the British cav are going to be coming in. We have some horse guards charging into my lancers, and I'm also trying to take out this artillery, but right now things are going to have to wait. I'm going to commit my attack here, but that just volley itself just shredded my lines, just going all the way through my guys, and actually sending guys flying. So here comes the attack. It looks like the British player is on edge right now of crossing or not. It looks like he's stepping his foot in, but he's not committing right now. So we will see if he will commit. I am telling him in chat right now to try and push in, because if I attack solely on this flank, it's going to be very devastating. And it does look like I did end up killing the French general, and this is going to allow me to push up morale for the French. Still fairly strong. It looks like the French artillery is going to try and limber up, seeing that they are very close to my cavalry unit. But it looks like these light dragoons and horse guards are holding off fairly well. But here goes my cavalry. They're going to be charging in to the 6-pound foot artillery, trying to immobilize them, and also charging into the British. So seeing that he has superior advantage over me on the hill, I'm actually going to go in for the melee engagement. I know that my guys are not as skilled, but it's going to keep these guys tied up, and it's going to allow my ally to push in and engage. So big clash here, and a massive melee engagement. I actually managed to take out the British artillery. We're going to be moving on to the Highland Foot. The Highland Foot, very deadly unit. You see he's going to be inspiring his men, keeping his morale strong, and it's actually going to pretty much mass rout my units. But even though I did lose the majority of my units here, it's going to allow, like I said, my foot, or allies' foot, to push in and open up on these Highland Foot that are in melee combat. Meanwhile, the French are just out. They are heading back to the town. They are not liking how things are going here, so they're gonna leave the British ally, or his British ally, on his own to face a 3v1 right now. We have the Prussians, Spanish, and also the British engaging, and it looks like he's inching ever so closely to the edge of the river, and has stepped foot on enemy soil. So slowly pushing up. But here we go. Highland foot out of place right now. And once again, it's going to allow these foot to get some really, really good volleys off. And just shredding these guys. Taking a look on the opposite side of the battlefield. Huge amount of losses on both sides. You can see a ton of musketeers did die defending the site. Not to mention a ton of foot and British troops. Looks like the British did get the worst of it, but taking a look back over, my general did die, and that is because of stakes. So not only did I lose my general, but I lost a lot of cavalry as well as my artillery. So ton of cavalry dead, and a huge mistake on my end. Had no clue these stakes were here. It cost me a lot, so huge mistake, and that's going to drop the morale of my guys. So the British are starting to get the memo of, hey, we can't really defend any longer. We're getting attacked on all three sides, so it's probably best to pull back. But we do have one brave Highland foot here, staying here and trying to keep these guys away from the main part of the army. So passing by the Prussians, they're going to be retreating to the town as well. And still, Portuguese player not moving or budging. He's got a very nice location here. And we also have some Russians here, and they're waiting for the charge or order to charge over the bridge. But right now, it would be a complete slaughter if they did. So they're going to wait for the Russians to try and break the rest of the British. And here comes the big push. So Allied troops are now going to be crossing the river. We have a ton of musketeers here leading the way, and they're going to form up and fire on the British. British are well prepared though, forming a very, very thick line of 4 units here. They're going to be using fire in advance here, so you guys will see these guys will get shots off and then move forward. And it's causing a lot of losses for the Prussians, but the Russians are going to be suppressing as well. But both sides taking a lot of losses right now. So this flank has yet to collapse for the enemy forces, but they are drastically outnumbered, but that does not mean they can cause a lot of damage. So right now 2v1. Taking a look back over here, British are in full retreat, like I said, with the French, and they're going to be reinforcing this town. So the Portuguese will not be the only army defending here. And it looks like the Portuguese are taking heavy fire from some of the Prussian Fusiliers. They are going to respond here. So they did inch out quite a bit out of the town, but they're getting devastated. So looks like he notices that. So he's going to be retreating his guys back to the town and reinforcing the ranks. Now, taking a look at the town itself, there are 2 buildings that he does claim. He has pretty much all sides covered, front to back, left to right, everywhere is covered, so it's going to be a very, very hard attack. But here it comes once again, another big push, Russian and Prussians crossing over, but still, the British are still holding on strong. We do have a militia here in the ranks, and a cavalry charge coming in from the Cossacks. Very good cavalry charge. It looks like that will finish off these units. So unable to form square for the British player. He's going to be taking a huge morale beating, and just like that, King's German Legion are gone. Fencibles are wavering, and so is the other King's German Legion. So just like that, those 2 cav units did manage to break those 3 units, and now the right flank is under our control. So this is going to allow us to try and encircle the city now. And the Portuguese are still reforming, getting set for this final attack. Now, the Prussians, on the other hand, have to be very cautious with their movements. Yes, they are doing a lot of damage to the Portuguese right now that are isolated, but he has to watch out for this 12-pound foot artillery that the Portuguese have to offer. And they're going to be raining hell, and you guys will see very shortly that they do start switching to canister, and it's going to really change how the Prussian player attacks. Kind of reminds me of World War II with the panzers just hiding in the brush. You can barely see them over there, so very good concealment for the Portuguese. Don't know if you did that on purpose or not, but it makes the game look so cool. Just hiding in the brush here. I mean, talk about some good camouflage. You cannot even see these guys like 5 feet away, so we will see what those guys can do. But taking a look over here, Russians are successful on the right flank. This is going to allow them to kind of start besieging the city, you could say, and forming up a offensive line on the outskirts. So kind of throwback, actually not even throwback Thursday, to World War II. We got the Eastern Front here closing in on Berlin. Not really, guys. This is a little bit too early to say that. And they're not even fighting the Prussians. So it looks like the reinforcements have arrived, and they're going to be defending the town. The British are actually going to be splitting off and defending the right side, while the French and their 3 units are going to be defending the left with the Portuguese. Portuguese trying to hold off on an offensive from the Prussians. Artillery still engaging here. Knocking over a lot of these foot guards. Foot guards, do notice that, so they're going to be retreating back. But look at the numbers we have right now. Even though things seem to be going our way, the balance of power is still very, very even. And right now, my objective is to try and get the backside of the town. If I can control the backside, it's going to prevent any troops from retreating, and it's just going to kind of squish them inside of the town. Old Guards and the rest of the French units do notice this, so they're going to be forming up pretty far outside and giving themselves some breathing room. Over here, though, the Russians are just waiting for an order. They are outranged, so they're going to be actually falling back behind the ridge once again, just because of the Portuguese lights. They do have the range advantage and are getting some pretty good shots in as they do end up retreating back. So these guys are just going to be chilling, waiting for this order to cross the bridge. And hopefully winning this center part of the town. So, looks like the Prussians are rethinking their strategy right now. They're trying to maximize their range, so they're bringing in the Jaegers, and they're going to engage these infantry from afar and actually hitting the artillery. Artillery, though, getting some good shots off and actually killing a couple with the canister. Just a little sneak peek of what these guys can actually do from such a far range. But the Jaegers are doing a pretty good job right now, killing 2 of the artillerymen. But there's still 16 left. Good artillery hit by the 20-pound unicorns, and the right flank is now starting to be engaged. Russians are pushing in on the town now. Not to mention we have some Prussians over here, and I am forming up as well. So engagement has commenced, and the Russians are committing all their troops. So this rifle unit, very isolated, is going to break on impact pretty much. Just outnumbered, outgunned, and just got slaughtered basically. But a huge issue the Russians are going to have to face is this building. It is jam-packed with troops and a lot of men looking outside the window, just waiting for chances to engage. But we do have the howitzers here, and they're going to be engaging on that building, trying to break it down. Infantry, Portuguese infantry, engaging the Russians as they come ever so closer to the city. Over here, though, British are getting engaged by the Prussians. They're doing their best right now, but they are slightly outnumbered. But that does not mean they can do a lot of damage. Over here, though, did manage to break the horse artillery, and I'm actually going to be forming up on this road right now with my lights, so I can engage the Old Guard from a distance. And my main objective here is try and clear a pathway for my British ally here, who's resting up, and hopefully get into the town. So with the Prussians still engaging from a far distance, it's going to allow infantry for the Portuguese as well as the canister of the artillery to engage. And here comes some Russian cavalry charging into the Portuguese line infantry, and this is going to be clearing a pathway deeper and deeper into the town. You can see they're getting very, very close to the central point, and actually it seems to be charging into the British general here. A little sneak attack here. General not prepared, but the Coldstream are. They're going to be forming square and trying to take out this Cossack cavalry unit before they do lose their general. And here they come, infiltrating the center part of the town, kind of scouting out and just causing disruptions within the lines, and charging into the backs of the Portuguese. So this is going to allow the Russians to push up very close, and with little resistance right now. Their numbers are still fairly healthy, but their ammunition is getting pretty low right now. Taking a look here, Old Guard are pushing up and light infantry are engaging. So my main objective here is I'm going to try and flank around. I just don't know why this is bringing back like memories of just World War II. So basically, I'm going to try and come out of the shrubs here, or the hedgerows or whatever you call them, and kind of have a little surprise attack on the old guard. So they are not going to see this coming one bit. My guys are coming into position here. They're going to be coming through the hedges and down, and pretty much ambushing the old guard here. And here they come, coming through the dense grubs, and are going to be forming up. Looks like the old guard do somewhat notice here, but I'm actually going to get second shots in. Looks like some Cossacks continuing to charge in, disrupting the old guard lines. And I'm going to get a fantastic volley in on these old guard while they are caught up in melee combat. Here they go. Just super devastating volleys, just dropping a ton of the old guard, not to mention more troops coming in over here. And these French troops are just getting flanked on all sides. Taking a look back at the town though, we got a melee engagement here. Got some Portuguese cavalry charging in some Russian Jaegers. And the Jaegers not looking so great right now. Troubadour's doing a good job. And here comes the Russian charge crossing across the bridge right now. We do have some grenadiers here. And they're going to, looks like, just chill here. And actually, they're going to be firing as well. Shooting some of the guys as they do cross. Dropping a couple as they do charge. But nothing significant. So Russians leading the way, and these guys are going to be pushing into the heart of the city now. But they are once again going to be faced up against some buildings here. And the Russians are going to have to think of something on how to overwhelm the enemy with such few troops. Looks like majority of the Portuguese units are forced on the right flank. Not to mention a lot are on the left flank. These guys are continuing to shoot canister onto the Prussians. But here they go. It looks like they're deciding what they're going to be doing, but they're getting shot as they do think of an idea. And soon they're going to be charging into one of the buildings. Getting a couple volleys in on the general staff of the Portuguese. Portuguese cavalry now charging into the musketeers. Kind of getting revenge for what the Cossacks did to them. Forming square at a very late time. But they do manage to form square. And this is going to allow the people in the building and grenadiers to be throwing their grenades into the square formation. And downing a ton of Russians. So that cav charge was very, very effective, keeping the Russians stationary and allowing these grenadiers to throw grenades at them. Looks like the Russians have had enough and are actually going to be charging into the building here. Portuguese from the windows going to be engaging. So killing a guy there, very nice stuff. But the Russian attack starting to die out, but the Prussians are just starting to overwhelm over here. Not to mention my troops are pushing up to the outskirts of the city, are just about to break the entry point. Musketeers now pushing in. We have a melee engagement inside the building now. They're going to try and flood their way inside, just massing their men. But over here, this building is still full of Portuguese troops shooting on both sides right now, trying to maximize effectiveness. And it seems to be working. The Russians are trying their best to push in, melee charging as they know best. Point blank volley from the officer of the Portuguese infantry, and getting a very nice shot into those musketeers. Over here, didn't see the King's German Legion unit, so I did turn these guys around and break those guys with my old guard. But right now, Portuguese and the enemy forces are definitely feeling the heat. We have a ton of reserves still outside the battle, or outside of the city. Meanwhile, the Russians are continuing to push in, and now more reserves of the British are going to be flooding over the river and being sent into the town. Young Guard now going to try and do their best and engage and fire onto these Russians. Looks like the Portuguese are getting overrun on this flank as well. They did run through the artillery here and overrun the position, so only one Portuguese unit is holding back this entire army right now. And we also have some British lights now engaging the flanks of the Portuguese infantry. We also have another grenadier unit. They're going to be engaging the flank of these first Prussian unit. But we are getting to the heart of the town, very close to the church right now. And it is down to the wire. Very few troops left for the enemy forces, but they're still holding out to the best of their ability. But the Russians now pushing in even deeper, and artillery still engaging. Looks like the Portuguese general trying to get some good charges in, but did end up losing his life there. And so did the British general. Actually, that was the British general that died, down to a one-man army right now, or unit. He's going to be charging in to the opposite British unit. So it looks like the Portuguese general did make it out alive with only 2 men left, so he's going to be retreating from the town to tell the tale of what happened here. And right now we are liberating the city from enemy forces, and it is down to the final few units. You can see the Portuguese still control this house here. Russians making it to the 2nd floor. And I'm starting to run low on ammunition, but that does not matter. But look at this, Grenadier unit still holding off this massive Prussian force trying to breach in. But it is inevitable at this point. They are getting too low on numbers, and it is just not working out. Morale is dropping, but the enemy forces did a fantastic job, and there goes the city. So we have liberated the city and won the battle. It may seem like a pretty decent win by big numbers, but taking a look at the kills, it was a very, very good game from everything that happened. So I managed to get the 2nd most kills on my team with 1,400 kills. Not bad for leading the attack. I did suffer a lot of charges on that charge against the British player, but taking a look at the Russian player, he just sheer numbers charging across the river, beating back the British and forcing the flank to collapse. So good job there. British player on my team doing a pretty good job, 800 kills. Prussian player, 900 kills. Enemy forces now, British player that I was facing, that the Russian was playing, not too great, only 500 kills, and the French player on my side got only 400. And then the Portuguese and the British doing probably the best on their armies or sides with 1,300 kills and 1,000 kills. Taking a look at the unit statistics, Walloon Guards are on top. Kind of curious what my artillery did. Getting 65 kills and 12 losses, so not bad there. Overall, this was such a fun game to play. Really enjoyed this map and should play on it a lot more. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys later.